welcome to the $1 Billion Podcast, a weekly show about the entrepreneurial journey and making it big in any industry. We're your hosts, Joe White and Kane Daniel. Welcome to the $1 Billion Podcast. Today's guest is Mike Diaz, the founder and principal broker of DNA Lending Group, with over 13 years of experience as a mortgage broker. Mike, it's great to have you with us. Thanks very much for coming.
Thank you much. Thank you so much, Joe and Kane. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm honored and look forward to our conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a little bit more about Mike. After nearly 2 decades with the TD Bank and Scotiabank, Mike transitioned into the mortgage brokerage space to offer Canadians better, more personalized options. He's passionate about heart-centered leadership, financial planning, and ensuring clients have the tools and knowledge to make informed decisions. Outside of work, Mike enjoys spending time with his son, staying active, and running his own podcast, Old School, New World, which we're definitely going to talk about. Mike, welcome. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you so much.
So my first question is, in going through your bio, you were with the major banks for 17 years. And, we always like to ask our guests what motivated them to get into mortgage brokering, because nobody wakes up as a 5 or 10-year-old and says, you know what, mortgage brokering, that's the ticket for me. So with that in mind, what did motivate you to leave the security of that environment, that banking environment, to join Mortgage Alliance as a broker and now start your own brokerage?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. It's almost like I was pushed a bit, and life happens. And, I was super loyal and committed to each of those institutions, TD and Scotia. But it got to a point at the end where it wasn't feeling right. I was growing as a person. And it was, the corporate environment sometimes doesn't allow you to grow personally and maybe allow you to grow professionally. But when you're growing personally in a corporate world, they expect you to be rigid and tight and not be sort of who you want to be. An individual, authentic, and so rightfully so. Banks have been around for over 200 years. Their reputation is by far the thing they hold the highest in importance. And so, it was a mutual sort of parting of the ways. And it's funny because 2 years before I left, I was already getting pushed into, hey, what does a broker do? Because remember, the banks back then, it's grown quite a bit awareness. When I was a banker, you only go to a broker and the bank says no, right? That was the idea. Or if you have something weird, you go to a broker. Don't come to us, please. And I didn't know anything about it. And I met a gentleman who's well respected in the industry. He's a real estate agent, Chris Kellos. And he's also was a good guy at identifying talent. And he slowly tried to bring me in, introduce me to certain people, and brought me to a Scotiabank, a wine and cheese broker event. And so I stepped in there 2 years prior to making the move. But then when it was aligned and I sort of had an idea, okay, let me go talk to this person. And I ended up doing it. And to be honest, the old saying, the only thing I wish I had done it sooner. It doesn't matter. That will always hold true, whether it's for me 13 years ago, for someone today, or someone 10 years from now. Because, when I got into the business, people were saying, hey, you came at the wrong time. If you had come in 2008 or 2009, it'd been amazing. And here I am coming in 2011, 2012 and done, phenomenal business, helped and served thousands of people. And the same thing will apply to new people coming in today. And they say, I wish I'd done it sooner. No, you don't. You just be happy with what you've done is the way I look at it.
Yeah. Sorry, Kane, I wanted to follow up with that because one of the things that we've noticed over the years, and by the way, it's great having you in the broker channel for this long. You finally made the move, and it's never too late, like you said.
Right.
What is your opinion on the qualifications of mortgage reps at the bank level in comparison to what you do and mortgage brokers in this channel?
Listen, I think the biggest thing, I started with the bank at 18, right? So as a teller. So, and I worked my way up. But if somebody was getting in there and becoming a personal banking officer or financial advisor first at 21, 22, I think it's important. My son, who's 15, says he wants to be a broker. Oh, amazing. His mom and I agree that he's going to start at the bank,
Mhm.
whether it's 18, 19, because you need to learn the corporate structure. You can't, in my view, yes, it's some people are possible to jump into entrepreneurship on right away, but you need to find structure, especially the young people of today. So I don't think they're going to get. I think they're going to get the some of the structure corporate brings. You can learn from bad leaders and good leaders. You can
Mhm.
figure out what you don't want to be, and you can figure out what you want to be. But you're not going to learn. Just learn the aspect of connecting with people, hearing people. When I joined this business, the broker channel, I shut my mouth, opened my ears. I might have been a 17-year banker, but I wasn't silly enough to think that, oh, I know it all already. Let me go do all this stuff. So same thing when you're starting in the banking world. Just open your ears, absorb all of by osmosis. The best way to learn is by osmosis. Pick up certain pieces because you'll only learn more and more as you get into this business about what's available. The plethora of products. Like there's a lot
Yeah.
that and so you'll learn that, but learn the people skills. Learn what drives the bus. Learn that, and you can learn this at the bank for sure. Learn to put people first, not the dollar signs first,
Right.
because you're not going to make any money at the bank. Okay, they're going to give you a title, and hey, this is so pretty, and look at the shiny little plaque you have here. But always allow yourself to do what's in the best interest of your clients that are in front of you at the bank, and then everything else will come after that. A lot of people only put the dollar sign first. Oh, I need to do this to make that. I have a philosophy. If you only chase money, money will always outrun you because you'll never catch it. Okay. And so
Yeah.
I think that's the big difference. And then when you join this side, it's important to align yourself with people that you like, that are aligned with your values and beliefs. Um, and, if I could say one thing that I wish I'd done differently, I was a lone wolf for 13 years. Like I had a small team here and there, people that I helped and supported, but I wish I had created more of a team environment sooner. What I'm doing now, right, with my new brokerage. So that's one of the things. So if somebody's join something that's going to feel right. Don't let the
Yeah.
head make the decision. Make your heart make the decision.
I think
Mike, you,
Kane talked to you.
yeah.
Sorry to cut you off again, Kane. I just wanted
That's
to
twice,
follow up
Kane,
on.
by the way. Joe's coming up.
He
But
wrote
I'm
it.
keeping track.
I'm glad you're counting.
Yeah, I am. I am.
We're going to lose count. But yeah, in regards to dealing with the bank and dealing with the broker channel, from your experience being at the bank and now being in the broker channel, do you think it's better for consumers to use brokers or go to the bank and only use brokers when they're turned down? What is your thought on that?
The answer to this, Joe, and it's you're always better served with a broker. And it's not about the plethora of products. Yes, that's pretty and nice. It's about the relationship. Because if you're dealing with a banker, good luck if they're going to be there 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, because banks and those mobile reps, or maybe the personal banking officer, the financial advisor, they want to move up. If they have
Right.
ambition, they're not going to stay in their desk, for a long period of time. So the value someone brings to the consumer on our side is substantial, right? The relationship piece, looking after them, listening. But remember, the people that are in our business, like the new people coming in, they really have to want to do that for themselves, right? Because it's just that's the biggest difference too, right? Like they might be doing it for the bank because the bank tells them. When they join us, and they have to do it for themselves because it's the best thing to do for their clients and friends, right? So I think that's a big differentiator
Mhm.
between the two. One's long term, but you have to have a process to create that long term and that sustainability. You can't be in and out, like push one deal in, push one deal out. If that's how you're building your own personal brand, may not be sustainable. So that's, I think, is a big difference.
Is that something that
Good points. I'm just joking. I'm not gonna keep talking.
I was waiting. I'm like, did I mute my microphone? What happened? Is that something, Mike, that you found right away? So like I'm thinking for those coming in, we see a lot of bankers now coming through our course and coming into the broker side. And so for those people that are maybe on the fence right now that are at the bank that are struggling with providing products, or maybe they're struggling with their own personal brand in the way that you just described. Is that something that you discovered once you moved over, the benefits of long-term relationships, the benefits of personal branding, or is that something you already knew and planned on? And what I'm really wanting to know is what were the surprises when you came in, or what were the challenges that you didn't expect, to provide some more context, maybe for those listeners that are again on that fence, that are at the bank, that are thinking about coming into the space.
Yeah. So one of the things that I was surprised when I came in, I'll share a quick story. My first client that I had, I was scared shitless. I tell you, I was pacing. I was a manager for 5 years prior to joining. Never sold a thing in that last 5 years. Always managing, right? Um, and I had a mentor. I listened to them. I watched them do their thing. And I finally understood what the bank was trying to teach me when I finally left, right? In terms of getting butts in the chairs, what did that really mean? Because when you are able to sit in front of someone and talk to them and reflect on what what they need and what and what we need to provide for them. I'm going to backtrack because I got super excited about the question. Ask me again, Kane. I feel terrible. It's never happens. Let's ask that again.
No worries. I think I asked a couple things, but what I really wanted to know was for those coming into the industry or thinking about coming in the
Yep.
industry from the banking side, what can they expect? Maybe what surprised you? What
Yep.
challenges did you have? How did you overcome them? For some more context for those that are considering.
Yeah. So let me answer that one specifically. So I feel like I'm a bit of a unicorn, but I can tell you from others, they have to expect when they're jumping in, you may not make money for 3, 6, 9 months. And it's not because you're not talented. It's because even if you come in and you have your first deal, you start in May. I started in May, closed my first deal in July. That's very unusual. It was a referral, but you have a deal. You come in a couple months in, you might have a deal closing, 60 or 90 days out. So this is why that window. So I was nervous. I was going through a divorce at the time. I had just built a new home. I had a lot of things on the go. So I was surprised for me how the transition went. It was scary at first, like I mentioned earlier, but once I got rolling, confidence is something that you build on. I was a confident person. I am a confident person, but when life has got you a little bit turned around, you start to wonder, right? So that's one of the things for sure is be prepared not to make money. Because it's people think, oh yeah, I'm going to be a broker. I'm going to make tons of money. Yes, you will. It's a very, fulfilling role that we do, but you can't be coming in with your eyes closed and saying, oh yeah, you have to understand that aspect of it. The other thing that surprised me was, cause I didn't know a lot about it was, back to some of the products is the B side or the private. Like I didn't have a lot of exposure. I don't know how many today people have exposure to understanding the B and the C side of our business. So that's something that I was dropped into and started to learn about. So that was a bit surprising because I didn't really know. Right, what you don't know, you just don't know. And so that would be probably another piece. And expect to be scared and fearful. You got to be prepared to be comfortable with being uncomfortable if you're going to make the move, because from uncomfortable, when you're uncomfortable, growth takes place, and that includes your personal, professional, anything you need to do for yourself. So in the bank makes you feel super comfortable and safe, right? And then you get trapped, you become content, and oh, this is great. And then you want to make a move, then you start all these other things start to happen. So just be prepared for those. So those would be the three things that I think people making the move need to be prepared for and think about. I hope I answered that.
That's yeah, no, those are,
Yeah.
I think you said a lot there, a lot to unpack. Something you said, I think will resonate well with those coming in from any industry, not just banking, is you talked about creating almost like a community or culture within your brokerage, but then even within the industry. It I think lesser known is how wonderful this industry is, especially now. I think more so than ever, in terms of community, in terms of people giving back and sharing ideas. Um, so, what do you think new agents or those just coming in that are looking for a brokerage, maybe interviewing with a brokerage, how do they make that determination? What should they be looking for for a brokerage that fits with them? In addition to the culture and community, what kind of things do you think are important or should be important for those coming in?
Yeah, I think they need to really evaluate the values that they have for themselves as they carry on through the brokers they're joining. Do the you know the does the fit with respects to what they expect to get from someone? Because it's one thing to say to someone coming in, "Hey, I can do this for you," but it's what the brokerage can do for them, right? So they need to have maybe a list of 3 things, 4 things. Hey, I need this, this, this. That requires you to be vulnerable. It might require, hey, I'm lacking in confidence. So you have training material that helps confidence. I bring that up as a point. I can talk about it later. I have training of live conversations, my own conversations with my clients and friends. I have 200 playbooks that will go from a gauntlet of first-time home buyers, repeat buyers, reviewing affordability numbers, all of these things, because I think in our business, there's a lack of live training, right? In terms of hearing. And when I say learning by osmosis, in today's world, it's hard. Nobody comes into an office anymore, right? How do you learn? Like when I joined another brokerage before Mortgage. I was there for a year and a half. It was an office environment where they had cubicles. Everybody heard everything. I picked up a lot on that.
Mhm.
So I think that's something to be mindful of as well.
One of the other things that you mentioned was about that lack of knowledge and understanding of like the B side and products like that. Do you think that bank employees, like bank mortgage reps, should know more about the industry so that they could give maybe better advice to their clients? As in, what our narrow suite of products, it's not really perfect for you. There's other options out there, and let me point you over to one of those options or one of the brokers. Do you think that that the banks would better serve their clients by having that knowledge?
I don't think the bank is excited about doing that because they know
No.
that it's not a benefit for their people to know. So, but I can tell you from a banker guy, I think bankers make the best brokers. That's my opinion, just because they've been in the corporate environment. But they themselves, even just for the best investment you can make is in yourself. Spend the $400, go to Remick, get the license, just so you can understand what a broker needs to be licensed. Doesn't mean you're going to make the move. You're allowed to
Right.
write the course. You wrote the course. You invested in yourself. And then, that'll open the door, right, to them deciding, hey, wait a minute, I wrote this course, or I did some more research myself, not because the bank told me to, because the bank won't tell you to. And
Right.
they would be doing themselves a favor, number one. And then in turn, they're going to be helping their clients and their friends with other alternatives. And listen, I know when I left Scotiabank, there was Oriana, I think was the brokerage. They were investigating doing deals that the bank said no to transfer, like to be the person. Like, hey, if you have decline deals that have no option, I think RBC has something similar or did anyway. And so there is that there, but it's not talked about, I don't think, all that much
Mhm.
because it's taboo. You don't want to be talking about it. Um, but um, but nonetheless, I think it's important, yes, for them to educate themselves for the sole reason for themselves. But remember what I said, we can do everything we can. We can beat them over the head. We can scream from the mountaintops. We can, make every attempt to help them. But if they do not want to help themselves, whether it's learning, getting to a different place, or anything like that, it's like old saying, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink, right? But I think there is a
Yeah.
tremendous amount of value to just expand your knowledge, even if you don't apply it right away. See what the world's about a bit in that sense.
Now you mentioned about the training that you do, the live training, which is fantastic. That sounds exactly what people need.
Yeah.
How have you found that the people that you have working for you have responded to that?
Thank you so much for asking that because, again, I'm going to be live, my brokerage, October 15th. So I'll be very
Exciting.
honest. I don't have agents yet. Like I remember,
Hmm.
it's myself. I have everything I need around me. I have my executive associate, Melanie, who handles my emails, calendars. And I've known Melanie now 6 years. She was on mat leave for 2 years ago. So I brought her back May of this year. I'd hire Sean, my associate. I say associate, but my underwriter. I like to use the right words anyway. I brought him a year before Melanie went on mat leave, not because I knew she was going to go on mat leave and have twins, but to support her. So Sean's now become the associate. Melanie looks after all the stuff I hate doing. I have a marketing coordinator. I have this training. But what I don't have, and I knew this was going to be the heaviest lifting, was agent. I believe and have faith when I start to get people coming on board or talking to them, because there's three parts: uh, recruiting, hiring, onboarding. Recruiting is, hey, tell me about who you are, what's going on. Hiring is, here's our culture. This is going to be what you're jumping into. Oh, they want to, it's onboarding. That's the heaviest lifting because, man, oh man, it's tough for a new brokerage, an infancy brokerage. You understand how that all works. TD Bank, I start with zero. So that means I have to build up to get full comp. Scotia, I have a pretty good relationship with. I think I'm going to be okay for a year. So I'm betting on myself in a degree. I'm betting on DNA Lending Group, but I think people will love this training. Like, I don't know, why read some information when you can hear live experiences? If I
Yeah.
was a new agent and somebody said to me, hey, man, you can listen to me talk to a variety of different, and it's all confidential. There's no disclosure of personal information. It's just a conversation like we're having, minus any knowing. If you didn't say my last name, for example, it would just be Mike, Kane, and Joe. There's a
Yep.
million Mike, Kane, and Joes, but we're not talking about my social insurance number. What your date of birth is, and none of that is happening in the conversation.
Mhm.
Zero. And so I would think as a new agent, I would love it, but that's maybe a biased response, but I would love it.
I think that Kane would agree that our students like that type of interaction, and students love case studies, things of that nature. And I think this is a great extension on that type of training. You take it from a case study, a theoretical, to a live interaction. And as you mentioned about the osmosis, that's absolutely, in my estimation, a valid,
And
more than a valid point.
and Joe, what I've done in preparation of creating these playbooks is I've asked people to, or will be asking people to listen, but not only listen, but what to listen for. Like, I mean, during a conversation, you can hear enthusiasm, humor, compassion, empathy. You hear it all. Like, I mean, when I'm an excitable person, just like laughter, enthusiasm is contagious. There's a lot of things built in. Like, some of these conversations are very heartfelt. And these are some
Mhm.
people I've known for a while and people I had just met. And so, and the idea of conversations for new people, new agents, sometimes they think they have to dive in and not dive in, like ask about their whole family. No. When I get a new client, I'll give you a quick synopsis. Hey, Joe Smith was kind enough to refer you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for the opportunity to help and serve you. Told me a little bit about what you're doing. You tell me a little bit what you need. Hey, Mike, I'm looking to buy a house, blah, blah, blah. And then I just go dive right in. Okay, here's the thing. Talk about the market, blah, 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 blah. And then get them to buy in, because there are things, I get their permission. I'll say things like, with your permission, I'll send you an email. And then where the buy-ins are. Where the pain points are. What things are happening. And lo and behold, 30 minutes later, I'm sending out an email. This is what I need. The requested items required. And they're sending it, and we're taking the next. And then the relationship builds. We start talking
Mhm.
about kids. We start talking about this. But the initial conversation should always be, let's get to the nitty gritty. Slow, small talk, banter, but then get into it. It's not about, relationships are not built on the first call. What's built
Right.
on the first call is what the client needs. And
I
every
think
single
that's
every playbook is almost identical in that sense, but obviously different interactions.
so, Mike. I think it's just so important for new agents, maybe especially if you're new, like you said, completely new to financial services, completely new to sales, completely new to marketing, those types of things. Those soft skills, that training is super important. Even before they get there, though, and now you're just about doing this now. What types of things are you going to look for from new agents? What are those markers that you're going to look at and say, okay, I'm going to hire this person. I know I want them. Just curious to know, because
Yep.
I think there's a misconception about people
Yep.
that enter in this industry
Yep.
that they do have to have, some finance background or do
Yep.
have to
Yep.
have sales background. I'm wondering what you're looking for.
I'll tell you what they need. It's the only thing they need because everything else can be taught. They either will understand credit and debt or they don't. If I have pieces that can easily say like GDS, TDS. If they look puzzled, okay, a credit card debt. What's that? Okay, sorry, I'm not the guy for you. Or maybe you should, because it's either you understand our business, the fundamental, the application, numbers, affordability. If you can't grasp that, and then you're not expected to know right away, but if you're coming back to me and you asked me a question and you've come back to me one time, two times, okay. If you come back to me the third or fourth or fifth time for the same exact thing, it's because you don't understand. And I will have to have a difficult conversation, unfortunately. Hey, so and so, Joe, it might not be for you because you're not capturing it. So that's number one. I think the top is I get a sense from if they understand it. Because remember, our business was never taught in school. So financial matters, mortgages is close to the vest. You only learn it from your family, typically. A lot of people, their first bank account, of course, will be where their parents banked. That's how it worked, right? And so it's just important to understand as much as you can. Do they understand credit? Debits, like credits and debits. And that's what they need, because the conversation piece, the people pieces, that can be taught. Those are soft skills. Trust and credibility, believe it or not, is soft skills. How do you establish trust and credibility? Through your process, calling them when you tell them you are. You're following up when you're going to follow up, and all of those small things. I equate trust and credibility to deposits and withdrawals in a bank account. The more deposits you have, the more you can afford to withdraw. We're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes. But if you're not making those deposits, following up when you are, doing the things you say you're going to do, doing the thing that's in their best interest, and then, lender made a mistake or something, there's a withdrawal, but it doesn't overdraw your account. So you're still building on that. So that would be, to answer your question, Kane. I will know right away if they understand the numbers piece of our business. That's
So like someone that has some basic understanding of financial literacy, or even their ability to grasp that and then communicate it effectively.
Yes. Like a question would be,
it also.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it also sounds like what I'm picking up from what you said is maybe discipline is important, the ability to be organized and do what you say. So I think all of those play in there as well.
Yeah, and if another piece, maybe if someone tells me, because I'm a believer, I've been called the CRM guru. I wouldn't go that far, but I'm grateful for somebody acknowledging. I've been doing this since 2014, where I have journals. I mean, journals upon journals, like of clients' journeys. And my very first one was Nikki, 2014. She referred me her friend, then her daughter, and I write all about it. If people are shy about journaling, whether it's for themselves personally, great, that's really positive. But for their clients, so they know what's going on, that's another thing that I would be concerned about, because you have to.
Now, do you want to explain, Mike, what you mean by journaling? Maybe for those that aren't sure exactly what the context is.
Of course. So let's say I meet a client and we have a conversation. In my CRM, I describe it as a task, or my notes section. I put the date. So today is October 3rd, 2024. I describe our conversation, how it went, what it went. Next time I talk to them, let's say a week later, it's now October the 10th. And I don't need to put the year because it's a continuous journal from top to bottom. And those things will just describes the whole event. So Joe talked about this in the course he was talking about, where let the deal talk about itself. You know, if you ever get like a compliance issue, you shouldn't have to explain the deal. You should allow your deal to talk for itself. So that's the journey.
And can I just add?
Yeah.
I just want to add something in there because I know, we see a lot of students coming through our course, a lot of different personalities. Some people struggle with that part of it, making those notes. I think it's super important, but I think it's important for your business reasons and also, to make sure you're compliant as well. And that,
Yes.
like Joe was mentioning, your deal. But what I want to say is that there's not really an excuse anymore because with this emergence of technology, Joe and I both have a product called the Plod Note, which you can attach to your phone.
Yes.
It'll record your entire conversation. It'll summarize your conversation, make those notes for you. There's also technology you can attach to any one of your virtual meetings that can do the same type of thing. So it takes away a lot of the work or almost all of the work for things like that, those tasks that you maybe don't want to do. So there's no excuse anymore not to be doing that.
And Ken, God bless you, man. What a great comment, because I'm old school. I'm like an habitual person. You have to be habitual to be successful. And I know there's technology now. I can't wait. Maybe I got a young person who's IT savvy, because IT and I are not friends. So I struggle. I hate it. I cringe. But this idea of what you just said, this thing you plug into your phone, imagine being in your car and you get a call and you have this thing you just described. And then you have this conversation, and then you don't have to take any notes because it gets downloaded into, it's music to my ears. But
it's available now, Mike. You can get it.
I know. I just listen. I'm doing so many things at the moment. I got so many irons in the fire. But yes, I know. I know there's so much out there. I know.
There it is.
The three of us will go out on a lunch on me, and you can show me all that stuff for sure.
The major problem with it is that you have to charge this stuff.
Wow.
And, like the chargers are ridiculous. I mean, they're unique to the device.
Okay.
Like I had a lock that you could, like a padlock that you can open with a thumbprint.
Okay.
But I can't find the charger for it. So what am I going to do? I gotta go now and search the company and find a replacement charger. And
the anxiety that brings up, Joe, is killer. Like that's why I try to stay in my lane. But I would love, to be more in tune with what you're describing. But yes, for sure.
Yeah, and Kane likes to say that he's constantly curious, and that's it. He's always
and show you
that's an excuse as to why he's always on his phone. But
hey, you got to.
No, I think you have to be curious about, especially about technology, because otherwise, if you're going to end up, still using Microsoft Excel only for your CRM when there's these robust systems that can do a ton of stuff, and you're, just stuck in your lane, right?
Yeah, and I will say this. So I have I have a great friend of mine. I'll shout out to Roy Cocholo. He's the broker owner of Your Mortgage Your Way. I love Roy. It's his birthday today. Happy birthday, Roy. And so he referred me over to someone that built on Google Suites or G Suites. So I'm going to take that next step for my brokerage too, right? Because as I bring on people, there's going to be opportunity to revamp some of my back end, because operations, if I was anybody starting a business for their own brokerage, if your operations is not fine tuned, you're going to struggle quite a bit. So I know this already, and I'm doing all the work on that end to do that. So to your point, I'm moving slower. Although I'm a dinosaur, I'm moving a little bit out of the old age into as much as I can because it is going to it is the new world. My podcast that we talked about earlier, old school, new world, old school principles, way of doing things, but it's a new world that we have to adapt to. So.
Yeah, maybe tell us a bit about the podcast. Have you started it? Have you filmed any episodes? Yeah. Give us some info about the podcast.
Yeah, so it's something that, listen, it's podcasting is a long game. I didn't start it to make money. I started it because I wanted to help young people understand different topics, whether it's wellness, financial literacy, anything to do with what they were looking to achieve. I do have 3 episodes that have already been aired. One was with my mostly recent one. You guys will know Michael Beckett. So Michael Beckett,
Yeah.
Michael Beckett is a gem of a man. I've known Michael for 13 years, founder of Mortgage Alliance, and he was gracious enough to be my third guest. And boy, oh boy, he's him and I had just a great conversation. And I've always considered Michael a mentor, but at the
Mhm.
end of last year, meaning the December 2023, I came out and asked him to be my mentor. And lo and behold, he was kind enough to say yes. And the same thing with Roy. So I have two mentors, and I think mentorship is so important. I'm 47, so I'm not like a young guy, but it's never too late to start. And so Roy, also, I asked him at the end of last year because I have a great deal of respect for him as well and what he's done for himself, and personally and professionally. And they both said yes. So I meet with them once a month as a sort of, hey, what's going on, things like that, and try to because leadership, you need to learn to be the best leader you can be. And so you need mentorship. I have so sorry, back to the podcast. So the episode I had with Michael was fantastic, and I'm pivoting a bit. So I'm redesigning it a bit because I know how there's different ways of doing it, but I really did, my purpose for it is to help others. Really, my purpose in life, I've discovered, is to help and serve as many people as I possibly can. And I won't get into a lot of detail, but 3.5 years ago, my life changed forever. I was in a coma for 17 days. And the first year and a half was the most difficult time in my life. And the last year has been the most incredible year of my life. And it's the best space I've lived in my whole entire life. And the amount of blessings that fall from the sky, and they're not divine, small things. I'm very blessed and grateful. So, things like that will come out more. My therapist is writing a book. She's 99.9% agreed to be the ghostwriter. My life is pretty dynamic, gentlemen, and pretty wild. But I think it resonates.
I mean, it sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a story there, and
Yeah.
maybe perspective, right? As maybe changed. It sounds like after that something happened, perspective changed a little bit. Is that what we're getting?
What happens? It's so incredible. There's something called post-traumatic growth. So there's a study that's being done in the US, has been for a few years, and I came across it by accident, or maybe not by accident, where it says when you either have emotional trauma, physical trauma, or any kind of, if you're carrying bags of rocks around and you can't let those bags go, guess what's going to happen? Those rocks turn radioactive, and life's going to be really tough. And so when you something like that happens, you either regress, you stay frozen, or you accelerate forward in growth. And the idea, and my therapist and I are going to talk about this in the book a bit. If you were already, prior to this experience, you were already attempting to grow, whether it's professionally, personally, whatever it is, and this trauma happens, it's not going to be easy, because it was, like I said, the first year and a half was the most difficult. But when you turn that corner and you're already in the action prior to the incident or a situation growing, that acceleration of growth. And that's what post-traumatic growth looks at. But the reason they're having a hard time identifying it specifically, because they're trying to help therapists, psychiatrists with this information, it can only be gathered from the people that knew the person best, right? Close friends, family. Have you noticed a difference in them? What has been happening to them? Can you help us understand what they were doing prior or doing after? So that kind of thing is part of it. And the other thing, I'll ask for some perspective. So I have an addictive personality, and Michael and I talked slightly about this on our last episode. But I was an addict, and that label would always be with me. And my drug of choice was cocaine. But it wasn't an everyday thing, but it was part of my life for a long while. And there's an itch that happens when you're an addict. It's like this circle. You're in the baseline. If you're doing whatever drug it is, you go above the line. There's a world, there's a space that's real. What happens? You come down, you go below the base. You're there, ugly world below the base. You come up, then an itch on the shoulder. Hey man, start to party. And then it's rinse and repeat. And that's the struggle addicts go through in this cycle that they live in. But after this incident for me, when I woke up, yes, a year and a half was the most difficult. And I had doctors calling me Do you feel depressed, suicidal? Like I had a epidural hematoma. So swelling of the brain, had to take the scalp off the thing, and it's really dramatic. I almost died. But even that incident was a blessing. So doctors were calling me, and I'm thinking to myself, no, I'm not like that. What's going on? And then finally, I was feeling like I was walking through molasses. So imagine wearing boots and socks. Boots comes off, then the sock. You put the sock back on, then the boot. And it's over and over again. So I finally went to talk to one of my dearest friends. She's one of my best friends. And I said, Jesse, I'm thinking of going to see my family doctor because this last year, doctors have been calling me, following up, asking me if I'm depressed or whatever. Maybe I should go talk to my family doctor about medication because maybe that's what this guy needs. And she goes, but I don't know how I feel about that. And everybody has this stigma about mental health and what we should do about it and what we shouldn't. Everyone struggles with it. And Jessie, in the best way she knows how, Mike, man, used to, rip lines of cocaine and didn't give a shit. And now you're worried about taking medication? I go, okay, fair, good point. So I go talk to the doctor and we went on a program. I was on the medication, and I say program, the medication. It's only started kicking in and working well finally in December of 2022 started to work. And I said, oh, finally, I'm feeling a little bit like I did. Because the thing I wanted to feel better again, feel like I was before, but not with the artificial reasoning of the feeling the way I was feeling. And then lo and behold, fast forward to April 2023, my doctor and I had a plan to get off the medication. Being a Portuguese guy and stubborn like hell, he said, okay, Mike, wean off this. Okay, doctor, no problem. Stop taking it as soon as I got home from the visit with them. Holy, 3 days later, I thought I was ready to throw up. So I went off the weaning and I've been off it now and I feel great. But you know what you learn from that? What I learned from that is that if I ever find myself in a dark place or somewhere where I'm struggling and it's lasting a long time, maybe I need to go see my doctor, my family doctor. I don't need the artificial stuff. I've been cocaine sober 3.5 years, super proud of it. That's never going to be a part of my life. It probably didn't have to be, but now I know if I feel weird or if I feel something's going on, then I'll go talk to my family doctor because medication is not necessarily antidepressants or any kind of medication to be taken lifetime. Some people need it, and that's because they need to balance the chemicals in the brain, and that's okay. But it also could be used in periods. Like I used it for an 8-month period and I feel great. Like the only drug I'm on now is the drug of life. So it's
awesome.
So it's
awesome.
Mike,
and your point about mental health is so well made. It is something that used to have more of a stigma. I mean, I hope that as time goes by, that stigma is stripped down and left by the wayside because you were absolutely right. I think we all struggle with it at one point or another. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That is a really heartfelt and inspiring story.
And thanks for opening up a little bit on that. I think that's really important for just the reason that you said, and normalizing this a little bit. It doesn't have to be such a stigma.
No.
We all have stories, we all have problems, right? Sometimes, as Joe mentioned. So I think it's really, really cool that you're able to share that.
One thing I'll thank my parents for. My mom, God love her, still around. She loves to talk. Okay, and my dad's a little more quiet and reserved, but they always. And I came from a family of cleaners. They had a cleaning business. The reason I got into banking was because of my mom, because she says to me, my brother and I used to go with them to clean, right? And all kinds of different branches my dad had contracts for. And there's a branch manager at TD Bank, Peter Miller. And my mom used to go into his office. Oh, Mike, if you ever became a branch manager, I would buy you a chair. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm what, 10, 11, 12? I don't know. It's just whatever. And then it ended up happening that way. It was quite funny. But they always made me know that it's okay to speak your truth. It doesn't, what's happened to you in your past doesn't define who you are. What's happened in your past and what you do with it defines who you are, right? And so I'm glad to be the torchbearer of talking about, because God knows my life has not been perfect. Some of my friends after the most recent things said, man, Mike, you're like a cat. You have 9 lives, but it's like 12, like you're like more than a cat or something. But I'm now in the most, like I said, the best space I've lived, yeah, I
I
can't
think
say
I
more.
think a really important piece of what you're saying here is, at least what I'm taking from it is, and we talk a little bit about this in some of our post licensing courses, is the importance of doing some introspection and really figuring out, before you even do your business planning, is figuring out, why do you want to do this? Like,
Yes,
why are you getting in this industry? What is your personal mission? What is your why? Right? I mean, there's a lot of talk about that now,
yeah,
but I think it's super important to go through that and really think about it and feel like you mentioned helping people. I think that's a popular one in this industry, and people also miss some of that. Right? There's a lot of reasons why we talk to a lot of brokers, and a lot of them have similar passion to
yeah,
help people,
yeah.
and they get that good feeling when they do a deal, and they, maybe it's a family, maybe they help them out of something or help them buy their home, and there's that really amazing feeling that you can't quantify until you do it. So I think that's missed often in this industry.
Thank you. You know, I'll say too, Kane, on top of the helping, is the serving. When I say I want to help and serve, it's like serving we provide a service. You know, the helping, yes, is important to, but it's like, a restaurateur who's in the hospitality industry. They want to make that experience for the person sitting down,
Mm.
Unreasonable Hospitality is another great book I've read, and talks about this service lifestyle, or service being a purpose. And it's not so much about what we help the person with, but how we serve them, and what we do. And remember, that servicing is not only during, it's always after. The serving piece comes after. So how do you make it come after? By, again, back to the beginning, we were talking about the process, the follow-up, because you genuinely want to serve. And that's serving. When I call a week after closing, 6 months, 2 years, well, 6 month Melanie is thankfully taken over for me. Then I'll do my personal call at 2 year, 3.5, 6 months prior to maturity. The 2 year call, or even the 6 month follow-up, is just to check in, say hi. What's going on? Is the home still treating you really well? Whatever the case is, whatever my journaling notes had. Hey, we talked about, Hunter was sick, so I had a client, for example, the one today. I had a follow-up question for him, and about the lender was asking reasonable explanation. Why is your year-to-date off track? I called the client. His son was not well. He had to take 2 weeks off. Boom. But that's going to be in my notes, because
Mm-hmm.
because when I follow up next time, and there will be a next time, because until clients tell me to beat it, I'm never going to go away. Right. And so, and I say this to them, and that's part of building trust and credibility and relationships. I tell them straight out, hey man, I'm always going to keep in touch with you until you tell me to beat it. There's always a good chuckle, a laugh about it. They love it, I'm sure. I love it because I just loved it. And so that servicing piece is not during, it's after.
I mean, I think that's such a good lesson, especially for those that maybe haven't realized that yet, or maybe that are new
Yeah.
to the industry. Joe and I talk about that a lot with different service providers in our own lives. We have a life insurance agent that we both work with, and he contacts us on our birthday. He contacts us randomly. Even if I don't answer the phone, he leaves a voicemail. I
Yeah.
know he's thinking about me, and
Yeah.
you can bet when I think about life insurance, I'm going right to him, as
Yes.
opposed to doing a deal with him and then 5 years later I forgot his name. Right?
Yes. I
Yeah.
will say this
So
in
important.
this context, is, if you find yourself sitting at home in the car, going for a walk, and somebody you haven't talked to or seen in a long time pops into your head, just a thought of them. You know what I believe that is just say, all you have to do, send them a text. Hey man, I hope you're doing well. That's
Thinking
it.
about you. Yeah.
Whatever it is,
Yeah.
whatever that thought triggered you, it's a reason. There's a reasoning behind it. And that could apply to your clients. Maybe you haven't talked to a client in a long time, this client pops into my head. A lot of people
Yeah.
maybe will just dismiss that. But just maybe send, if you're don't have the process, just do something, because there's a reason why that popped into your head. And either they need you, or just need a high, or just need, to hear from someone, even if it's just, like I said, hey, how are you? Hope you're well. And
Now, what do you think's going to happen then with?
And that can open the gate, perhaps, to them offering and opening up to you about something.
do you think technology might change the way that you operate a little bit, or the way the role will become for mortgage agents and brokers? Hopefully, it doesn't take away any of that personalization. We can use the technology to do more of that. But interested to
Yeah,
hear what you think.
that's funny. So Roy and I were having a conversation about this the other day. So he likes the AI concept of how we're going to apply it in our business, and the robocalling with your own voice that's available. I think at some level to say, to reach out to a client with your voice being AI. To me, it takes away the humanity piece, because the voice never sounds like your voice exactly, and people will see that, but that's almost desensitizing society. I'm not there yet. I'm not saying it doesn't have a place. I'm sure my son, Nathan, who's 15, when he's 25 or 30 or 30, there'll be common practice, having a son this age and what they do with TikTok, Instagram, instant gratification. This is a whole new, thing, but to not get into that, but in terms of technology, and I'm concerned it desensitizes. What I believe is important is the humanity piece.
Yeah, and you know what? I definitely agree with that. The whole concept of trying to reach out to somebody with your own voice, or even an avatar that looks exactly like you. I think that there's a creep factor there,
Yeah.
and it's disingenuous. I mean, I wouldn't mind if I knew what I was talking to was an AI, but you know what? I don't want it to be like in Kane's voice, or my kid's voice, or
Right.
somebody who's real. I want to know that it's an AI, and yeah,
Sure.
I'm talking to this, and it's giving me a great interaction. But yeah, I'm not going to do a robocall with an AI generated voice of mine.
Right. I can't get myself to do that. But here's the thing, right? A lot of the young people today, they might think that's cool, or who knows how they're
No, you're
thinking.
right.
Like
I was just going to say there definitely is a cool factor, and I think you can combine what you guys are saying into. So if you're doing a robocall, right away in the call you say, "Hey, this is the Robo Kane. I want you to know that I'm not real. If you want to talk to the real Kane, you can do that
Yeah,
anytime. But
yeah,
let's
and
talk.
you could
This
do
is pretty
something
cool,
like
right?
that.
Let's have a chat." Yeah.
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 So
And that's what I mean about, being disingenuous, where you're trying to,
Right.
yeah,
like, if somebody's trying to have it imitate your voice, or be you, and try to trick somebody into thinking that
yeah.
I'm dealing with you, I think that's creepy. But I think what you just said, Kane, there is an innovative way to take that and use it, and then that's cool. It's almost funny. I'm
Yeah.
Robo Kane.
It'd
You
be
want to
funny,
talk
right?
to Real Kane?
Well,
In
I
my
will say,
opinion, you should. Yeah, go ahead,
yeah,
Mike.
sorry. No, okay, please.
I was just going to say, I think just to finish off that thought, in my opinion, anytime you're engaging with any AI that isn't human, I think it should always clarify what it is when
Yeah.
it's engaging with a human, so that it
Yep.
can make a decision how it wants to talk to it. And it might find that people want to talk. They might choose the AI when they want to talk about stuff that
Yeah.
is, for example, very personal, and they don't want a human to know, or maybe it's very emotional for them, and they can
Yeah.
find some security in talking to a machine. There's that element as well that I've read a couple things that they're already seeing that with therapy and some other
Yeah.
stuff. So there's interesting bits there. Anyway,
Yeah, and I was just going to last point to add to that in terms of voice messages, these robocalls. I've incorporated in the last like 4 or 5 months voice notes instead of like I'll do a voice message and then I'll follow up with a voice note on the text because people don't listen to voice messages anymore. So this robo text, for example, saying what you said, Kane, because I like that idea as well. Hey, this is Robo Kane. You want to speak to Kane? Give us a call, but we just want to say hi or follow up. It's a 2 year
yeah,
follow up, whatever the case may be. But the
yep.
texting aspect, because people, man, they're on their phone, and the
Yeah.
text comes in, and that's easier than, oh, I got a voice message. Like, who
Hmm.
wants to listen to that?
Yeah. Especially like my generation, I'm 38. My generation and younger, especially with text. This is why everyone's going to WhatsApp and doing text. It works, right? People
Yep,
get better response rate.
yep,
I think
yep,
there's
yep,
a lot to be said for that.
for sure.
We're closing in on the hour, so
That
I
was the
think
best
it's
hour. It's the best hour I've ever spent.
Yeah, my friend. Same here. Time flies when you're having fun, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
this has been a wonderful conversation, Mike. We thank you so much for being so candid. From our hearts, you're well known in the industry as a phenomenally nice guy and honest, and we wish you all the success with DNA lending, and you know
thank,
what, we'll hopefully have you back on so you can tell us about your
yeah,
travels going through starting up with DNA and hiring new people, and
yeah,
we'd love to touch base with you again, maybe down the road, and see how things have gone.
And by the
yeah,
time our listeners get this, you'll probably already be up
Yeah.
and running. So where can the
yes,
listeners find you? Do you have a
yes.
website? Do you have a
Yeah,
handle?
I have a website. It's dnalendinggroup.com. You can reach me at my phone number directly. I'm always on my phone, 416-357-4003. Or, of course, email at mike@dnalendinggroup.com. And before we sign off, guys, I love you very much. Absolute honor to be on your podcast. I will, with your permission, follow up with you guys and have you be guests on my podcast.
Would
Love
love
to.
to.
Yeah, love
Good.
to.
So I have your permission.
Yeah.
So I will make sure I set that up. And I appreciate you guys a great deal.
Mike, you're fantastic. It's been a lot of fun, and look forward to do it again. Looking forward to being on yours, and yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
All right,
Thanks,
guys.
Mike. Thanks for tuning in to the $1 Billion Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode.
For more in-depth entrepreneurial insights, follow us on social media, and for more info on the show, go to billiondollarpodcast.com.
See you next time.